Let me see. Yeah,
I've
it is on.
switched it on.
Okay.
Yeah, it has
Oh,
started now.
okay. Mritika, you can
Okay,
just.
audience. Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So, after two sessions of paper presentation, we are now at the third session, 1C. And the title of the session is Tracing Disappearing Cultures and Tradition. We are very delighted to have with us uh, Debolina Guhu Thakurata, who is currently the assistant professor in the Department of English at Sri Shiksha College. She is a member of the executive committee of the Center for Folklore Studies and Research, a global community of scholars dedicated to the interdisciplinary study of folklore and its various manifestations across culture and historical periods. Like we have Devolinadi as a chair for this session. Uh, there are a few more words for Devolinadi, what she has done already. Debolina completed her post-graduation in English from Jadavpur University and MPhil in Women Studies from the same university in 2009. Since then, she has been teaching at the undergraduate level in different capacities and also in post-graduation level. She was associated with the graduate department of English in Diamond Harbour uh, Women's University, West Bengal, as a visiting faculty and course coordinator right at its inception in 2014. An ardent literary enthusiast, Debolina has participated in many international, national, and state level conferences exploring her research interest. She nurtures keen interest in theatre and performance, translation studies, 19th century Bengal music, and popular literature. She has publications to her credit. Apart from academic pursuits, Debolina is a B-high graded artist in Nozrul Giti category in Akashbani Kolkata and was an English presenter in All India Radio. She was also a music trainer at Shruti Nandan, a renowned music kingdom of Pandit Ojha Chakraborty, Kolkata from 2013 to 2019. Now, this session will be chaired by Debolina Guhathakurata, and I once again welcome the other participants. I wish we will have a great session.
Yeah, please make sure that all the participants are joined or not. Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
I'm calling by name. Shambhavi Ojha, Muhammad Ali Shabbir,
Yeah,
Rajib Bas.
I'm here. Thank
Okay. And Shambhavi Ojha.
are you there, Shambhavi?
She is
Yeah,
here.
Shambhavi is there. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, she is here.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm here.
Rajib
Yeah.
Baskey is
And
here, I guess.
Yes, I am there. Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes,
And
sir. Yes, sir.
okay, thank you. Ankita Panda.
Ankita Panda is also there, I guess. Ankita
Yes,
Panda is also
yes,
there.
I'm present. I'm present.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, please carry forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mritika. That was a very generous introduction. I hope I'm audible to all of you.
Yeah, you're
Thank
audible.
you. Thank you, Mritika. Thank you, Mir, Meghal, Bhumika, and all the organizers of this conference. I really feel very honored to be part of this conference, not simply to chair a session. Perhaps I'll be learning more, listening to all the presenters with such diversified areas of presentation. And I have been attending the session right from the inaugural session. And as Professor Bhimaya and our keynote speaker, Professor Praveen Shukla, has already set the tone of this conference is actually doing a great, contributing to the documentation process, as our keynote speaker has rightly pointed out right in the inaugural session. Without further ado, now let us move on to welcome all the presenters. A warm welcome, of course, to all the presenters first. And we shall begin with Shambhavi's presentation. Shambhavi Ojha, she is a post-graduation student from the Department of Anthropology, Pondicherry University. And Shambhavi would be speaking on the fading folklore of Indian courtesans. So over to you, Shambhavi.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
hope I'm audible and visible to everyone.
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay. I would just share my screen now. Is my screen visible now?
Not the particular, your window is visible, not the particular PPT. Yeah. The particular window you want to share, please share it again. Or you stop sharing and then share it again.
Yeah, now it's visible, Shambhavi. It was visible, but right now it's off once again.
I think there are two screens. Am I right? I can see two screens together.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Now
I think now it is fine. Now it is fine. Yeah, Shambhavi, go on. Yeah.
Am I audible?
Shambhavi, we can see the whole screen. I mean, you just have to share the PPT, right?
Okay, okay.
This is fine.
So very good. Okay, ma'am. So my topic for presentation is the fading folklore of Indian courtesans. I would like to start my presentation with two very basic definitions. A definition that we've come across multiple times now. Folklore. It is the body of expressive culture shared by a particular group of people, culture or subculture. The second definition being courtesans. In my process of researching, I struggled to search for a definition of courtesans, and I realized that all the definitions that exist come from a very Eurocentric point of view, and those given by Indian authors are not all inclusive. But the question arises for us researchers that can we come up with an analytical definition of the courtesan of India? A question I'd like to further delve into in my research. Because it is a gray area, unlike the black and white color theme of my presentation. Anyway, for the East in parlance, I would like to use the word courtesan in tandem. The history of Indian courtesans. For a better understanding, I have broadly categorized the courtesan culture into eras. It's to be noted that these shall not be considered as strict broad divisions, and as the mention of courtesans from our era are also found in consequent eras. Categorization must be considered as an era of origination of the term itself. In ancient India, as early as the 400 BCE, we find the mention of the term Ganika in ancient text Kama Sutra. They were considered as Rup, Yauvan, Shila Sampan in Earth Shastra. According to historian S.K. Gautam, a symbol of both sexual, erotic, and aesthetic pleasures. Moving forward in the timeline, we find the exclusive use of the Arabic plural noun, tawayif, tribals or people, to designate a unitary meta-community of elite female performing artists in North India appears in fact to be quite late. It was probably only widely co-opted for this purpose around 1800. Nevertheless, throughout the preceding centuries of the Mughal rule, courtly female musicians and dancers seem to have held a similarly prominent position to their 19th century counterparts. From the 16th to the 18th century, several communities of female performers, all apparently with distinct repertoire and roles, were patronized by the Mughal courts. The tawais from the courts of Mughals existed even after the downfall of the Mughal dynasty. But with the advent of the British in India, they observed a change in the dynamics of functioning of their institutions. The colonial era highlighted the groups of courtesans called the Nautch girls. The Nautch derived from the Prakrit word nach, meaning dance. Nautch girls were a part of the entertainment for the royal family. These highly skilled dancers performed for the rulers and entertained their guests. They also formed a part of everyday life for those outside the palace, as people invited them to perform at celebrations, festivals, and fairs. These women were valued for their intelligence as well as their dancing skills, and were at least partially educated. As a form of side employment, they also offered sexual services. Role and status of courtesans of India. Although the ancient texts describe Ganikas as women of multiple talents, grace, elegance, and enjoyed a well-reputed status in the society, but we can only imagine of the realities. It is not false that these women enjoyed economically wealthy lives, but the evidence of stratification among them also exists. And the given example of hierarchy also tells us that story for each category of the courtesan of ancient India were not the same. Their role as members of society included performing their art, folklore, cultural gratification, and also sexual for the men who were the viewers of their performances on the will and wish of the courtesans. When we study the medieval literature of the Mughal, which is usually written in Persian, we may also find that the wives played a very important role in various festivities like marriage celebrations, Bismillah ceremonies, and Urs, death anniversaries of Sufi saints. That the wives excelled and contributed to music, dance, mujra, theatre, film, and Urdu literary traditions. They were considered an authority on etiquette and held respectable position in the Nizam society. It is also believed that the Nawabs to be sent to these Tabayafs to learn, in inverted commas, Tamiz, and in inverted commas, Tehzeeb, which included the ability to differentiate and appreciate good music and literature, perhaps even practice it, especially the art of ghazal writing. By the 18th century, they had become the central element of polite and refined culture in North India. These courtesans would dance, sing especially ghazals, recite poetry, shairi, and entertain their suitors at mehfils. However, when we talk of Nautch, had a reputation for connecting sex, music, and dance. We must also note that these remarks are coming from people who tried looking at their folklore from an outsider's perspective, something what we call as an ethic perspective in anthropology, and also what Pravina ma'am mentioned, an outside-in view of looking at things. Along with which, we must also keep in mind that remarks about courtesans were formed in a colonized country where there were multiple tensions almost in all spheres. With the increasing tension in the nation for freedom struggle, the women of art or the courtesans faced multiple resistance. One of the
Yeah, Shambhavi, your connection is breaking. Can you just take a pause? Can you just recheck your connections? Shambhavi, are you getting us? Shambhavi, I
I'm
think
able
she's
to
not
hear
getting
you.
us. I need to call. Okay, okay. Yeah, your connection was very poor that time, so you recheck and then restart that from this point.
I think better go to the next one and then meanwhile she can
Yes,
come back.
absolutely.
Okay. I think it's better.
We
Yeah,
can
which,
move on to the next presentation, and then Shambhavi can do things with the connection, and then we can get back to her.
yeah, we will just let her for 1 minute. Just 1 minute. We'll wait for her. Then we'll move to, because
Right.
yeah, sometimes changing settings may help her. That's right.
In the meantime, if we can have the second presentation,
Yes,
because
yes. Now,
there is
now,
another session also following this one.
yes. Now we should.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, Samar.
Yes, Shambhavi. So can you manage with the connection now, Shambhavi? Because you were mostly inaudible. Or you want some time to do?
Yes, ma'am, I will.
Okay,
I'll
fine,
just-
fine.
Should I start again with the whole presentation?
So the one where you were talking about the role and the status,
Or
you can go from that slide.
okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Am I audible and is the presentation visible to everyone?
Yes.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, thank you. And I'm extremely sorry for the inconvenience.
Yes, we were actually talking about how they were contributing to music. We were at that point, if I'm not wrong. So you can continue from there.
Sorry, ma'am, I could not hear you.
You were actually talking about how they were contributing to music. After you were talking about how they were told to learn Tamiz and the Tehzeeb, and then you were continuing from there. So we can continue from that point.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
So, Shambhavi, I guess you can only,
Yes, ma'am.
your presentation is not visible properly. You just please carry on with your presentation, like your paper. No need to do the presentation. Once you are presenting, it is being off and the problems are coming.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, I'll do that. I hope I'm audible now.
Yeah, you are
Okay.
audible, properly audible.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Yes. So, moving forward in the timeline, we learned about the Tawaiifs and how their important role in the society of Nizams, and how the Nawabs to be were sent to learn the Tamiz and Tehzeeb from the Tawaiifs. When we talk of the colonial era, it highlights the group of courtesans called the Notch girls, and with the increasing tension in the nation for freedom struggle, the women of art, courtesans, faced resistance from multiple fronts. The foreign traveler from the 18th century, Jemima Kindersley, complained, and I quote, "The languished glances, wanton smiles, and attitudes are not consistent with decency," unquote. One of the other reasons which may have provided some motivation for the elimination of the Tawaives could include cultural chauvinism. 1892 gave birth to anti-Notch movements and boycotts by the British. However, their roles as evident taxpayers and economically independent citizens can also be seen in the civic tax ledgers of 1858 to 77, which signifies their economical prowess in the era. Conclusion. Through the research, I was able to identify two subgroups of people studying the courtesans of India. Two schools of thoughts, as we may say. One were those who considered courtesans as flag bearers of prostitution, and others, those who neglect the part of their identity which includes sexual gratification. As a researcher, I'm not of the view that they were the direct ancestors of the Indian prostitution, because courtesanship did not initiate as an institution serving the purpose of prostitution. They emerged as the performing class, the presenters of lore and literature of the era. Secondly, even though the emergence of the institution had different goals, and as per some authors, in inverted commas, incidentally, the part of sexual gratification got linked up to it, I am of the opinion, whether incidentally or intentionally, the performers came under the grasp of prostitution, and we cannot ignore the fact that it also existed and very infamously was known for it. Thirdly, I observed that in ancient era, as per the scriptures, Ganikas enjoyed a life of dignity and respect. The medieval era Tawaives also were respectable members of the Nizam's society. It was the downfall of the courts and advent of British when these courtesans saw their decline of being reduced to only prostitutes. In my opinion, and as facts also state, the famous and affluent Tawaives and Notch girls who were well skilled and affluent enough to be able to sustain a life took to the performing art industry, the Bollywood specifically, and those who were crippled by financial instability or were not able to get themselves out of the entanglement of the marred image of courtesanship took to prostitution as profession, and some out of will. Bracket. How free were these wills is again a question to think about. In conclusion, as an anthropology student, I would like to do my further research on the topic with the holistic approach and with a non-ethnocentric point of view. I believe to understand the folklore, it is very important to know the folks first, and also vice versa. We cannot ignore any facet of their identities, and then only will be able to observe its fading image and come up with ways of its preservation. Thank you.
Thank you, Shambhavi. Ritika, Mir, should we take questions now or should we keep it for the...
As per your convenience, ma'am. I think at the end it will be more convenient.
Better, more convenience. Okay. So let us move on to the second presentation. Well, Shambhavi, it was really a nice presentation, though some technical glitch, but I think as it is an online conference, we should be used to kind of adjust ourselves to such glitches. However, moving on to the second presentation by Muhammad Ali Shabbir. He is an assistant professor in the Department of English, GDC Drass Kargil, UT Ladakh. And his presentation is entitled Tamlay, the Disappearing Ancient Wisdom of Ladakh. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. Such interesting talks since morning. I was hearing Pravina Shukla's. It was a very fascinating talk. Since we have lost a lot of time, so coming to the topic, Tamlay, the Disappearing Ancient Wisdom from Ladakh. Now, I don't know how many of you have visited Ladakh, but since morning it has been like snowfall, and it is very cold. It's -1 degree Celsius. So that is Ladakh for now. And I can see that most of you are having only t-shirts and shirts. So I'm little bit jealous because I'm wearing layers upon layers. Anyhow, Ladakh, flanked by the mighty Western Himalayas in the south and the gigantic Karakoram ranges in the north side, is a world-famous tourist destination. Though arid, the region is surrounded by strikingly beautiful landscapes, unique flora and fauna, and is a home to an amalgamation of distinct races such as Tibeto-Mongols, Dards, Mons of the Aryan stock. The majority of the population belongs to Tibeto-Dart race speaking the Tibetan language with slight variations. If you ask me to which race I belong, if you ask me to which tribe I belong, I personally belong to Purgi tribe, P-U-R-G-I, Purgi tribe. But we also have Baltis, we also have Dards, we also have Tibetan and Mongols, and I can trace my ancestry to, I don't know, maybe Genghis Khan. I personally, if you talk about my language, I speak Purgi, which we follow Tibetan script, but I personally don't know how to write this Tibetan script, but we write in Urdu or Persian. Now, Shina is spoken in mostly in parts like Drass, in which I'm right now. And Kyango is an Indo-Persian language spoken by Dard and Drass, Shingo, and the Liver Indus Valley like Hanu, Garkon, Darchiks, Batalik, Chulichan, Skarche, Musbir. These are all tourist places. Now, if you just go Google, and these are all tourist places which was recently opened for the tourists in 2010. And Ladakh was open to tourism in 1974. So these are the places like Hanu, Garkon, Darchiks, Batalik, Chulichan, Skarche, Musbir. These are very famous tourist places. And also few places which are on the Pakistan side. They also speak Shina, they also speak Balti, they also speak Purgi language. So beside, we have a large population speaking Purgi as well as Balti dialect. Now, in hospitable geography, dry climate, freezing winters do justice to an old Ladakhi saying that only best of friends and worst of enemies will visit Ladakh. So this is an old saying that only best of friends and worst of foes would dare to visit Ladakh. Despite the unfriendly demographic, the people of Ladakh have inhabited this cold desert for hundreds of years. They not only lived but evolved their own indigenous wisdom, indigenous knowledge of survival, which was always in harmony with nature, environment. The place offers an idiosyncratic culture and civilization which has been passed from generation to generation. Now, before the introduction of Buddhism in 10th century and Islam in 14th century, respectively, Bonism was the local religion of Ladakh. Bonism, also called Ponchos, Lachos, refers to a set of animistic beliefs, languages, eating habits practiced by both Buddhist and Baltis tribe in Ladakh and Baltistan. Now, in Bonism, people worship various deities, which in our language we call La. 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 So, and celestial objects, and most importantly, we used to worship our mountains, our trees, our lakes, and these were the objects of worship and reverence. A.H. Franke, a scholar on Ladakh studies, in his book Antiquities of Indian Tibet, has translated Ponchos, Lachos, or Bonism as deity worship or convention of deity. As the principal religion of people of Ladakh, Ponchos, Lachos has its own unique practices in the form of oral narratives, dance, distinct celebrations. For example, one of the local historian, Kacho Ispender Khan, who is a retired bureaucrat and also a Ladakhi scholar, and another local historian who is writing in Urdu, Muhammad Sadiq Hardasi, they write in their book Qadim Ladakh, which is ancient Ladakh, and Balti Adab, which is Balti culture. They trace the beautiful tradition which we still follow, the festival of flowers. We have this festival of flowers when there is spring of flowers, which is in our language is known Mendok Yaspa. Mendok Yaspa, the festival of flowers. They trace this origin to the religion of Bonism. No, they further argue that in Ladakh, which was culturally influenced by the rulers of Dards, for example, or Tibetan rulers, for example, they mostly celebrate this festival of flowers or Mendok Yaspa. And now what we do in Mendok Yaspa, mostly young girls and boys, they go to the mountains and collect these wild flowers. and they come home and they dedicate these flowers, and they dedicate these flowers to the deceased souls. They take these flowers to the graveyards as thanksgiving. And we also have all these delicious good foods which we distribute among our relatives or neighbors or friends. So it is a very beautiful festival, which is known as Festival of Flowers. But during when our ancestors were following Bonism, we had certain traditions, we had certain customs, for example, lovers used to go out into the mountains and collect flowers for their beloved. They used to sing, they used to dance, but under the influence of Islam, under the influence of Buddhism, certain traditions and certain customs have ceased to exist. But we still follow, these Festival of Flowers still retain a flavor of born religion. Now, if you talk about a folk culture of Ladakh, as the followers Bonism, Ladakh had great faith in the Las and Lus, deities, Las and Lus, right? The female deities, the male deities, and other supernatural forces. And particularly, just like Ramayana, just like any Homer's Iliad, for example, the god King Kesar was regarded as the central figure of Bonism faith. And he is known as the Labu. Labu means the son of God. Just like Ramayana, or just like the story of Ram or the Homer's Iliad, he is the divine incarnation of God on earth. So in our folk literature, he is known as the Labu, the son of God. The legend of Galam Kesar or Kesar Saga till date remains the most popular folk story in Ladakhi culture, and perhaps Kesar the most celebrated epic hero. It is believed that this epic story of Kesar have 18 chapters, which was memorized by famous master storytellers like Mon Abdul, Sonam Chiring, who later converted to Muhammad Ali. And recently we have lost a great man, Muhammad Ali, another Muhammad Ali, who was a great folklorist. So these master storytellers used to memorize these 18 chapters, and particularly during winters, we used to gather around after dinner, and all these master storytellers used to tell us stories of Kesar Saga. And what is Kesar Saga? Kesar Saga is it is about the miraculous birth of King Kesar. Kesar in our language means reborn. So it is the story of the miraculous birth of Kesar, and the youngest son of god of rain and snow, and the king of the realm of gods, La Wangur Gyabjin. He is born in the human form on earth and grows up to be a great king who fights evil and bring a long period of justice, peace, and prosperity in Ladakh. The epic is a story of the heroic expedition of this legend, God King Kesar, his son Kagar Gyalu, and his famous Lingyul warrior Darpon. So all these 18 chapters traces the expedition, the bravery of King Kesar, his birth till his death. So Kesar Saga is very famous, but unfortunately, not many people know all the 18 chapters. But historians like Kacho Ispandar Khan have tried to preserve the story in his book, The Story of Galam Kesar from the Legend of Ladakh. Now, Leh and Kargil, as you all know, has been once on the map of the famous Silk Route. We all know that Silk Route, a great trading center connecting India to Central Asia. So people from far and near came to these places with their merchandise, thus allowing exchange of not only goods, but also knowledge, ideas, culture. So Ladakh in her former glories was a melting pot of different cultures, like whether it be Kashmiri, Balti, Purgi, Dars, Ladakhis, Tibetans, Mongols. So it is very fascinating to know that this interrelation is reflected in the folk songs of Ladakh. There are beautiful descriptions of Tibet, Kashmir, Lahul and Spiti in Ladakhi folk songs, which will help us in understanding the history and strong ties of the ancient Ladakh kingdoms with other neighboring kingdoms. Now, if you talk about the folk songs, we have 11 types of folk songs, as scholars have collected, or they believe that there are 11 types of folk songs. For example, we have Choslu. Choslu means religious songs. We have Yanglu, which means congregational songs. We have Yinglu, which means heroic songs. We have Toslu, we have love songs. We have Bastonilu. Bastonilu means marriage songs. And we have Tashipailu, which means chorus songs. And we have Ballu, which means
Uh, Um, Ali Shabbir, I think your connection got interrupted. Uh, can you exit and join again? Like,
Am I audible?
yes, yeah,
Am I
yeah, yeah,
audible?
Yes,
I think
yes,
I was
you are.
disconnected. Okay,
yes.
sorry
Yeah.
for, because I cannot do
That's
anything
okay.
about.
No, no,
So
no.
I
It
was
happened.
talking that we have this Choslu, which means religious songs. We have Yanglu, congregational songs. We have Yinglu, heroic songs. We have Soslu, love songs. We have marriage songs. We have chorus songs. We have these Balti songs. These are some of few of the folk songs which we still sing, for example, during our festivals or weddings. Now, Ladakh has been predominantly a barren landscape. It is a cold desert. Though it looks lovely during summers, but it is very cold and have limited resources of livelihood. The environment is very fragile, and our ancestors were wise enough to understand the limitations. So therefore, Ladakh society has always been largely dependent on agriculture and animal husbandry, which largely determined the economic prosperity of the region. So studying the folk literature of the region provides us a fair idea regarding the importance of such a system of economy owing to this topographical limitations. So under such compelling circumstances, an individual is expected to contribute to the family coffers so that they could survive the long winters. So therefore, stocking of the fruit grains, fuel, fodder, and other necessary items were supposed to be procured well before the onset of the winters. So modest livelihood, extremely cold winters, scarce resources, and disconnectivity exposed the older generation to the harsh realities of life. So collective human experiences and wisdom gained under these circumstances is very much reflected in the ancient sayings and proverbs of the region. That is, we call Tamlay. We call it Ata Apo Tamlay. Ata means father, Apo means forefathers, and it is forefathers' sayings and proverbs. So similarly, during the long struggle to evolve and survive despite the harsh condition, Ladakhi society produced a host of beautiful, unique folk literature. These folk culture was the reflection of the various epochs in the history of Ladakh. The oral narratives, proverbs, Kesar Saga, as I've already mentioned, they are the only parameters today through which we can understand and judge the cultural history of Ladakhi society. So one of the most significant contribution of the Ladakhi folk literature is it beautiful sayings, proverbs, right? Which was Ata Apu Tamle. For example, we have, I will just translate into English later, but let me put this proverb in my own language. Harap metna nalbuin. Harap metna nalbuin. Gyalap metna khenmin. Harap metna nalbuin. Gyalap metna nalbuin. Harap means father. And so the proverbs goes like this: one who does not know his pedigree is no better than a bastard. One who does not know the history of his country is no better than a refugee. Harap metna nalbuin, nalbu means bastard. Gerap metna khenmin, khenmin means outsider. If somebody does not know his history, if somebody does not know his identity, is just like a bastard. He's just like an outsider, he's just like a refugee. Another Tamle goes like this: lam rings na therings. Lam rings na therings means shortcut in life is dangerous. Because our ancestors, because it is a very hilly area, so we have all these dangerous cliffs. So our ancestors always advise us to take the long route, but safe route. So lam rings na therings. The means life. Like lam rings na, if the road is longer, then your life is longer. So lam rings na therings. So these are some of the Atapo Tamle proverbs which talks about respecting family tradition, custom, right? And and these like when you say that you are a bastard if you don't know your father. So it talks about, it shows that the history of the native land, how the history of the native land is so important to give you a sense of identity and belonging, and also make you aware of the responsibility towards your native land, which we in our language call Rangyul. Rangyul means your native land, your country. So the wisdom underlying this saying reminds a person to never abandon his roots, never abandon and respect and uphold the traditions and custom, though it may not appeal to a rational mind. Again, Ladakh folk literature is very much indebted to the
Shabbir,
natural world.
yeah,
Sorry.
it is a very beautiful presentation. Just can you please conclude? Like we're running out of time. That's right.
No. So,
Yeah.
so I'll just conclude that that since 1947, Ladakh has embarked on a path of material development and progress. And this Coca-Cola culture, material wealth, has overexposed us to these foreign ideas, and we have started influencing and destroying the indigenous way of life. Our local culture, language, and traditions are not valued, and maybe in a like we may soon lose a precious piece of history. So therefore, our ancestors were wise enough to understand that we are living in a very fragile environment, and therefore, therefore, it is our responsibility to preserve, revive, and relive and relearn from this heritage. Otherwise, before they disappear into oblivion. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Shabbir. Actually, we would have loved to listen to all the narratives and all the proverbs. They are extremely interesting and intriguing at the same time. The way it tries to capture the cultural ethos of that particular region. It is a brilliant presentation, and I think you can see how many, how people are actually, how all the members, participants present here and attendees present here, they're actually appreciating. It's a brilliant presentation. However, as time has to kind of, time is forcing us, the time is fleeting and we have to run along with that. So inviting the third presenter of this session, Rajib Baskey. He is assistant teacher in Chandra High School, Paschim, Medinipur, and his presentation is titled Spirituality in Santhal Indigenous Society, Nature, God, and Spirit. Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. First of all, I express my gratitude and thank to CFSR for giving me the opportunity to present my paper in the first International Young Folklorist Conference. My paper is a big one. I am trying to present in brief. My topic is spirituality in Santali Indigenous Society, Nature, God, and Spirit. You all know Santals actually follow folk tradition. My research question was relevance and importance of Santali ideas of spirituality. Being a member of the same community, I sometimes wonder the religious traditions and practices, the indigenous knowledge, the Santals has been handed down over generation for ages. Is there any relevance now in this age? So before going to the topic, I giving a short introduction about the Santals. The Santals, you know, are one of the indigenous tribes of the Indian subcontinent. They are believed to be among the first settlers in India. It is considered that they were the people who, in collaboration with the Mediterranean race, had developed the Indus Valley civilization. The Santals speak Santali. It is recognized regional language of India as per the 8th schedule of the Indian Constitution. It is spoken by around 7.6 million people in India, Bangladesh, Bhutan, and Nepal. Though the Santals have their own ancient, rich culture and tradition, it could not attract others except some interested educationists and researchers around the world. So their life, their society, culture, and religion have always been just a negligible one, I think. While speaking of the spirituality of the Santals, first I mentioned some important features or basis of the spirituality. Those are animism, politeness, purity, equality. Now we see that the Santals are never worried about salvation or life after death. Actually, they think that and they believe that they are all children of God, the Almighty, the Creator. If someone commits any crime or sinful act, they say, Chor Chando Nyeleda. That is in Santali. That means, Chor Chando means the God. God is seeing all this and He will do the justice. The God will do justice to the person committing crime or sinful acts. The Santals believe that when someone dies, he returns to the Bonga Disom, that is the land of God and Goddess. When someone dies, they say in Santali, Uni do Bonga Disom te chalawanai. That means the person has gone to the land of God. And death is called sometimes Bongatala. This is Santali what? Bongatala. It's very interesting that all the religious activities of the Santals are done with folk songs, dances, and some hymns. They call Binti. They do all such activities and practices with happiness and gladness, mainly with songs and dances, except the funeral ceremonies. There is no space for austerity in the spiritual life of the Santals. According to Santali mythology, all the creation is done with the instruction of the Almighty God, Thakurji, who created everything. At first, there was no land, and everywhere there was only water and water. And mud was under the water, underwater. The Almighty God, Thakurji, first created the water creatures like crabs, fish, crocodile, earthworms, turtles, small fishes, and others. Then he created two birds, Has and Hasli, in Santali. That is a couple of drake and duck from his part of chest. The Santals believe that those Has and Hasli gave birth to two children. Those were called Pilchuharam and Pilchubudi. Pilchuharam and Pilchubudi gave birth to 7 sons and 7 daughters. And the Santals believe that they are the descendants of those 7 sons and 7 daughters. So after that, Almighty God, Thakurji, sent a messenger, the first guru of the Santals, Lite Godet, to teach the lifestyle, including worship and cultivation. Lite Godet is now worshipped as Maramburu. The Santals believe that their deities are living being, and they can talk to them if they are called with songs and vintage. They come down to earth and even dance with them. The society, the democratic society in the Maji system, the Santals live in, they believe is given to them by Lite Godet. So they believe that they are living in the system the God as the God instructed them to live in. They just follow the teachings of Lite Godet. Every rituals the Santals practice, there is a strong connection with nature. They worship their deities Marangbudu, Jairayo, Moreko Turiko under the holy sarjom tree, and another tree is Matkom tree that we call Mohua tree. From birth to death, in every ritual, they use leaves of sarjom, and it is mandatory. No ritual can be done without leaves of sarjom. And during cremation, after death, they need a branch of matkom tree, and that is also mandatory. Now we come to the spirit. The Santals believe that the spirits after death reside in their home, and the body, the human body, gets merged with the nature, and through the rituals of bhandan, that is funeral ceremony, the spirit also merges with God, returns to the Bongadism. This is the unification of human soul with God. And after that, they worship the soul of the dead person with their deities at home. I mentioned now Santal system of medicine. I have not mentioned in the abstract. The Santals believe that the God has also gifted them medicines, natural medicines, though the practice of that is not seen in the way given in the books. I can mention one book, Studies in Santal Medicine and Connected Folklore by P.O. Boarding in this respect. Now coming to conclusion, I see that all the religious rituals the Santal practice are connected with nature. Trees are very much holy to them. While they are worshipping their deities under the trees, they are actually worshipping, saluting the nature for giving them life and food. During Bahabunga, a religious festival, they take permission from nature, they take permission from their natural deities that they are using natural elements like fruits, leaves, flowers, and they greet nature. We see that before cultivation, they pray to God for more production, and before and after harvesting, they take permission from their deities for using and express their thankfulness and gratitude. In my opinion, saving nature by worshipping it, this is the perspective of the spiritual ideas of the Santals. So in this folk indigenous tradition, the Santals preserve natural elements as they believe that God resides within the nature, and thus it has great prospects in the coming days. Thank you. That's all, madam.
Thank you so much for this another very interesting presentation on how the Santals are into into a kind of worship where they are creating a kind of a triad with nature, God, and the spirit, and that becomes part of their living, their livelihood. And in the end, the questions that you have raised, or the points rather that you have raised about saving nature by worshipping it, that sounds quite relevant, and particularly in such a climate crisis time. However, we shall come to that. Maybe there will be more questions on these issues. Moving on to the last presentation of this session, I shall now invite Ankita Panda. Ankita is a Ph.D. research scholar from Gangadhar Mehar University, Sambalpur, and her paper is titled Chakulia Panda, Unveiling the Cultural Icon in Odia Folklore. Ankita, if you are here.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. Am I audible? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you are.
Okay. Let me share the screen. Is it visible?
Yeah, you're visible.
Is the PPT visible?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's visible, the PPT.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. A very good afternoon to all of you. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this first International Young Folklorist Conference for giving me an opportunity to present my paper on the topic Chakulia Panda, Unveiling the Cultural Icon in Odia Folklore. Uh, uh, I had prepared a very detailed paper, but I had to exclude many things. So I'll be directly talking about the figure of Chakulia Panda. So Odisha, known for its vibrant cultural heritage, encompasses enriching folk literature. Indu Bhushan Kaur, the eminent Odia literature, aptly acknowledges the state's rich tradition of folk culture, where art forms like folk songs, folk dance, drama, and literature serve as reflections of the state's cultural vibrancy. These folk expressions, characterized by their simplicity and depth, convey profound messages of human values, encapsulating the essence of Odia ethos and societal norms. Traditional oral narratives of Odisha encapsulates a diverse range of mediums by which folklore is transmitted through generations. Nath yogis, palakaras, Chakulia Pandas, and Daskatia players have all played a pivotal roles within Odia folk culture. Through their folk songs, they have served as custodians of our society's rich cultural heritage, capturing the attention of the populace and contributing significantly to Odia folk literature's enrichment. Among them, the figure of Chakulia Panda holds a significant place in Odia folklore. The figure of the Chakulia Panda, deeply rooted in the rural landscape of Odisha, holds a distinctive place within the cultural milieu of the region. Chakulia Panda refers not to a single person, it actually belongs to a sect who live in Odisha. They're believed to be lower class Brahmins who are especially devotees of Lord Vishnu. Originating from the undivided district of Puri, Khorda, and Nayagarh, the Chakulia Panda sect comprises monk-like individuals who traverse villages embodying a blend of spirituality and tradition. Central to the identity of the Chakulia Panda is their daily ritual of alms round known as Choko, wherein they visit households reciting pada or verses from early Odia literature and religious texts. They usually walk around villages and recite religious poems on occasions like full moon and new moon day, that is Amavasya and Purnima, and Sankranti, Posh Ravivar, Margashira Guruvar, etc. Only male members roam from door to door, reciting religious compositions from ancient Odia literature in colloquial dialect. Unlike conventional beggars, Chakulia Pandas never solicit alms. Rather, they humbly accept offerings of rice and vegetables freely given by the people. They never ask for anything in return, but gladly receive whatever is offered to them as alms at households. The act of offering rice to a Chakulia Ponda holds profound significance in Odia culture, transcending the mere act of donation to 100 Brahmins. It symbolizes a sacred exchange wherein the giver receives blessings and spiritual merit in return for their generosity. Now, within the context of Hindu tradition, the term Panda refers to a religious guide or priest responsible for facilitating pilgrimages and providing spiritual guidance. The origin of the Panda is a subject of diverse opinions among Brahmins, making it challenging to provide a definitive explanation. But a widely accepted perspective suggests that the term Panda may have originated from the Sanskrit word Pandit, meaning learned scholar or priest. It is pertinent to mention here the term Pandit is further derived from the word Pand, which means to collect, heap, pile up, and this root is used in the sense of knowledge. The most important work of Pandas is to share their knowledge in various ways among the people. Some discuss Puranas at Archala in groups. Some wander and share their knowledge of Shastras and Puranas. Some work as temple sevayats. Now, the Chakulia Panda, as a manifestation of this archetype, fulfills a similar role by disseminating religious knowledge and fostering spiritual connections within the community. The origin of the term Chakulia has a humorous connotation. It is commonly believed that it stems from his fondness for chakuli pitha, a traditional dish from Odisha. He prepares it in a unique manner, different from the usual way of cooking the dish, often using broken earthen pots or hadi rather than in new ones, as they have hardly any money. And their presence in villages is not merely symbolic, but serves as a conduit for spiritual enrichment and cultural preservation. Chakulia Panda too stands as a popular persona who is known for his distinctive traits and cultural significance. Distinguished by his unique appearance and behavior, the Chakulia Panda adorns himself with a white sandalwood tilak on the forehead and his shoulders, carrying a handmade beautiful chhatri or umbrella made up of palm leaf, which epitomizes dignity and reverence as they travel through villages. The unique attire of the Chakulia Panda also features saffron clothing, a distinctive headdress known as turbans or thekas as they call it. The gamcha or the loincloth is fashioned into a carry bag shape, that is jhola, which serves as a receptacle for collecting alms, emphasizing their humble reliance on the goodwill of the community. Now, the following lines encompasses the whole essence of the figure of the wandering bard, Chakulia Panda. I quote, Hatare tamba patra kandhare chata, which means copper vessel in one hand and umbrella on the shoulder. Mothare kati ochu tilaka chitta, with a mark of tilak on the forehead. Mukhare niti shastra koruchu bakhano, speaking of moral lessons through my words. Dharma dande chalu achu Sriketra Brahmana, the Sriketra Brahmin walking on the path of Dharma. Mone mone tumari ho Jagannatha nama, let the name of Jagannath reside in every heart. Asiso deuchu buli buli grama grama, bestowing blessings on you wandering village by village. Punyabata janamane bhikya ani daba, virtuous people who may give alms, Chakulia Panda tharu asiso paibo, shall get the blessings from Chakulia Panda. I unquote. So, accompanied by the rhythmic beats of the kendra, a country-made musical instrument, the Chakulia Pandas engage in a harmonious presentation of verses. At times, they are accompanied by a fellow panda, thus complementing each other's recitations as they move through the villages. The rhythmic recitations of these sacred verses, accompanied by chants of Rama, Parshurama, Janakanandini, fills the air as they gracefully pass by the doors. Their performances not only entertain but also impart moral lessons and spiritual teachings, reinforcing the cultural values cherished by the Odia community. The origin of the figure of Chakulia Panda can be traced to various mythological narratives. According to some legends, they belonged to the family of Lord Parshuram, and according to some legends, Bhima, the strongest Panda who used to recite poems like the Chakulias, bears and accept the alms which people offered him. However, the physical appearance of the Chakulias bears striking resemblance to the Vamana avatar, the fifth incarnation of Lord Vishnu among his 10 avatars. Descriptions from the Bali Vamana Ashtakam vividly depicts Vamana holding a palm leaf, umbrella, and a copper vessel akin to Chakulia Panda, often portrayed as singing mendicant who relies on alms for sustenance. The first 8 padas describes the image of the Vaman avatar. The following lines, Trutva Chatrancho Bhabe Devakusha Batukang Tamra Patrang Tradakhe illustrates the image of Lord Vishnu's Vaman avatar, who is carrying a palm leaf umbrella and a Tamra Patra, which means a copper vessel. Further, the Vaman avatar is described as singing the Samaveda. Iti Bang Panchabhutya Bali Bruhagato Pathaye Samaveda, echoing the practices of Chakulia Panda. Now, this manifestation of Lord Vishnu, who relies upon alms, Danante Bhojanarthang Chalati, further parallels the lifestyle of Chakulia Panda. Thus, this sect represents our ancient culture from Tretaya Yuga. So, mythology serves as the richest source of folklore, with figures like Chakulia Panda drawing inspiration from its depth. Now, Chakulia Panda is also known for his entertaining narrating skills, which involves a combination of humor, wit, and social commentary. Chakulia Pandas have inherited through generations, which have passed down through oral traditions and practical training. Sometimes one can witness the Pandas composing and making satirical remarks in their renditions if someone delays offering alms. The following lyrics illustrates this sentiment. I quote, Eghara mausi dela segharara bohu debokina debo asi dande kahi jao, which means this house's aunt has already given, and that house's daughter-in-law too, whether she wants to give or not, should come and inform me on the path. So his folklore continues to captivate audiences and serves as a reminder of the rich cultural heritage of Odisha. Chakulia Panda also plays a crucial role in popular Odia folk tales. Now, this real-life character has been adapted by many writers in their folk tales. In the work of Gopal Chandra Praharaj's Utkala Kahani, which consists of Chakulia Panda Katha, so in the story of Sunanaki Jha, he is presented as a cunning and shrewd person who wants to look after his own means. In Madahandi Katha, Chakulia Panda is portrayed as a greedy man who ultimately gets punished for his greediness. So these Chakulia Panda Katha or tales impart moral lessons of life and also tackle various societal issues such as caste discrimination, corruption, and exploitation, making him a vehicle for social commentary. In Utkala Loko Kahani, Kunja Bihari Das presents the Chakulia Panda as a character who is used to establish and popularize Mahalakshmi Brata Katha. So in the text, he is depicted as a cunning character who outsmarts other. But in real life, these people are devotional bards who move from door to door, reciting verses and religious compositions from ancient texts. So Chakulia Panda shows his unwavering dedication to preserve Odia culture and identity. His songs are deeply intertwined with the history and culture of Odisha, depicting stories from Hindu mythology, local folklore, historical events, thereby preserving and promoting Odia cultural narratives. The Jagannath culture is well promoted by the Chakulia Pandas. Professor H.S. Patnaik illustrates that Jagannath cult is one of the important factors contributing to Odia identity. Jagannath culture and Odia identity are mutually correlative, in which the former is the emblematic expression of the latter. Any auspicious ceremony in the family, whether religious, social, personal, or political, starts with the first invocation to Lord Jagannath.
Ankita, can we just now come to the conclusion? Because
yes,
we are running
yes,
out of time.
yes.
Yeah.
So thus Chakulia Panda represents a living link between Odia folklore and religious traditions, enriching the cultural fabric of the region. However, these pandas are less seen in the streets these days. These wandering bards navigate the challenges of modernity while preserving the rich cultural heritage. Earlier, Chakulia Pandas were earning a modest livelihood. However, economic pressures and societal changes have taken a toll on their way of life. As one of the Chakulia Panda lamented that they once earned rupees 200 to 300 a day, but now find it increasingly difficult to sustain them. Yet the significance of the Chakulia Panda extends beyond mere economic sustenance. The decline of the Chakulia Panda tradition not only diminishes Odia cultural heritage but also reflects broader shifts in societal values and priorities. Efforts to revitalize the legacy of the Chakulia Panda are crucial in ensuring its survival for future generations. Cultural organizations and scholars have dedicated themselves to collecting and documenting Chakulia Panda folklore, ensuring that it is passed on to future generations. Documentaries and cultural initiatives like those led by Paramita Pradhan play a vital role in raising awareness about the plight of Chakulia Pandas and the importance of preserving their traditions. Moreover, the challenges faced by the Chakulia Panda underscore larger issues surrounding the preservations of intangible cultural heritage. As societies modernize and globalize, traditional practices often face marginalization or extinction. However, recognizing the value of these traditions and supporting efforts to sustain them is essential in maintaining cultural diversity and promoting intergenerational continuity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ankita. So with this, we come to the end of all the four presentations. And they were not only brilliant, but they were variegated. It started just to kind of just remind all the attendees here about what we were listening for this last more than an hour. It started with Shambhavi, who was talking about the courtesan, their genesis, talking about moving on to the Mughal court, and then about certain socio-cultural and political and economic aspects, and how therefore they are identified in the cultural sphere. And then Professor Shabbir, he was talking about the Ladakh culture, particularly the Tamlay. They were, as I said earlier, intriguing, interesting, and it also is giving us an idea about the cultural ethos of Ladakh and the neighboring region through certain proverbs, followed by what Sri Rajib Baskey was talking about, the Santali practices and the triad of God, spirit, and the culture, and how the nature, God, and spirit are getting merged into the Santali cultural practices. And the last presentation of Ankita, which also talks about a certain cultural practice of Odia, and which also is trying to carry forward the tradition of Odia folklore and culture. One thing that was told right at the beginning of today's conference in the inaugural address by Professor Praveena Shukla is about tradition, which means creation of future out of the past. So my question to all four of you, because it was a dense journey really from different cultures, right? I'll open the floor to the audience, because it's not me who's going to comment and kind of drag on with what has been already said, and that all were brilliant. But just one thing I was wondering, I think we all are actually wondering about the same point, is if tradition is creation of future out of the past, then how are we going to take forward these traditions? Because the conference is addressing a very pertinent question: transitions and transformation, which also talks about a kind of negotiation. How are we going to negotiate? How are we going to continue with these kind of traditions, these kind of rich cultural practices that are there, so diverse in our country itself? I'm not talking about the other countries and the other kind of folklores. I mean, if we go on with that, I think it will be a never-ending session and never-ending day. But then how are we going to take forward or carry forward these traditions? Just to mention one, I was reading a few days back, one of the news which is on Kirtan, which is also, in a way, a dying practice, though it has been negotiated now in the current time through different other practices. But then there is a practice of Krishna Kirtan, and not only Krishna Kirtan, right? So it's not only about the Vaishnavite tradition and the bhakti movement that has kind of forwarded this to practice. But there is something called Krishna Kirtan, and which is not far away from Kolkata, interestingly. It's hardly within 100 kilometers from Kolkata, where this Krishna Kirtan is practiced by certain Kirtaniyas, talking about the birth and death of Christ through Kirtan, right? So these are certain practices which has to be documented. And I was reminded of this when Professor Shabbir was actually talking about the culture of, the cultural practices and those resonances. These are very important to kind of preserve. Something that the conference is actually doing. You are creating a kind of a knowledge bank, therefore, so that we can carry forward these information and document them, preserve them in some way or the other, so that it goes, it gets practiced more and more. In our Bengali culture, in fact, Shumanta Banerjee is talking about the marginalization of such kind of practices in the colonial times, like the Kheur Gan, Jari Gan, Agomoni, Bashor Gan, Jhumur. All these different practices, they are disappearing, and that is the point of this particular session: disappearing cultures. So if these are disappearing, how can we negotiate? How can we, as the conference is rightly questioning or kind of trying to say, transitions and transformation, and what are the prospects? Therefore, there are problems, we know, and there are perspectives. We have got 4 perspectives here. Right from the morning, we are getting multiple perspectives. Somebody was talking on Amitav Ghosh. Others were talking on, the serpent tradition, which also goes back to our culture, Monusha. So, how are we going to therefore continue? There are problems, there are these multiple perspectives, and what are the prospects? Therefore, that is the point that we have come here today, and all of us are sitting and listening to such brilliant presentations. So congratulations to all 4 of you, and looking forward to more such interactions and exchanges. Should we open the floor to 1 or 2 questions from the chat box, if there are any? Mritika and Mir would be able to guide me, because we are actually running out of time. It's already 4:48, as I can see, 4:48 p.m.
So that is the case.
Yeah,
that
ma'am.
Yeah, please, Mithika, carry on.
If we have any questions, we can take, ma'am. 1 or 2 questions we can take.
We can. Okay, so I don't see much question in the chat box, but if there is anybody who wants to ask, even the presenters can ask each other. I mean, it's an open floor. I mean, open
Yes.
platform. So anybody can ask, anyone, please, if you please volunteer and ask questions if you have any, or if you have any comment to make, any observation particularly, you can, please.
So if anybody interested, please unmute. Otherwise, I have a question. Yeah, Ali Ladakhi.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mir. I don't have a question. Actually, I wanted to make a comment since ma'am talked about documentation, preserving. What we are doing here in Ladakh, that already our youths have opened some YouTube channels where they talk about these folk tales, folklores, and folk songs, and particularly these proverbs and Tamlay, which we used to use in our daily conversations. Does not happen, but on those YouTube channels, they are actually reviving that culture and teaching that these are the proverbs which our ancestors used to do. And they are having some Instagram channels where they are actually making reels on these proverbs, on these folk songs and folk tales. So I think it is actually a good initiative by our youths. Like preserve them as archives in Instagram, or making good use of social media.
Yes, that is a very relevant point that you have raised, Professor Shabbir, because the social networking sites, they are very important now and is to be used, constructively. This is very important. These are to be used because through that we can reach out to maximum number of people, right? So I think that is a brilliant point that you have raised. And of course, the YouTube channel, I mean, that is also extremely relevant today. We can have access to most of the people. Many people at least.
Yes, ma'am. Even I learned so many things.
And I'm looking forward to having more interaction with you. I really want to know. And if sure. And in fact, I think many of us are feeling the same.
I welcome all of you to Ladakh.
We will have to meet you. That is quite obvious.
Sure, ma'am. I welcome all of you to Ladakh. Now roads are open. Only
Yeah,
the
of
best of
course, of
friends can
course.
visit. So
Because
you are
because
best friend.
you have opened up, you have opened the gates to such diverse, practices. So really intriguing. It was a brilliant presentation, I think, and everyone should clap. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I'm like grateful for inviting me, for having me.
Yeah, please, please.
Yes, Meer, if you have question, you can sort of go on with that.
Yeah,
Ma'am,
I just
actually,
yeah,
I want to add up that government is also taking initiative. The question that you asked, that how are we going to carry forward this tradition? So, the government is also taking initiative and providing financial benefits to these folk artists. Like Minister of Culture is giving financial the assistance to this folk. I mean. These
that,
people, and again the thing is that but these people do not have much awareness, so we should make initiative, we should take initiative, and uh, at least raise awareness about these government initiatives which people, I think, do not have much information about.
Ritika and Meer will agree with me, because they know where they are very much part of CFSR, that even
Exactly. I was about to say that.
CFSR is
Like, this
also
is, yeah,
trying to promote artists as much as we can. I mean,
exactly.
this is very important. As conscious citizens, we should start thinking about how to document ourselves. We can start from home. That is very
Yeah.
important. Thank you, Ankita. Thank you, Ankita, for
yeah,
informing.
that's the
I,
point
I would
that
like to I would
yeah,
like to invite all of the presenters to come and join with CFSR, because we are in the process of documenting these practices, and we are doing it. Like, this conference is also a kind of, as Devulinadi has pointed out, this is a kind of a documentation we are trying to do. And after that, we will have a seminar proceeding. We'll have a book published. So this is, I would request everybody, all of you, to please join CFSR, so that we get connected and we share our heritage, what is disappearing.
yes,
Thank
yeah.
you, Mritika. Yes, Meer, you want to ask the question?
Yeah, so that is, yeah, CFSR is doing one thing very great, and I think all the other cultural activists and other organizations are also doing it and need to do it more. That we, the become we academicians need to step ahead of that, and we need to be in the field, and we need to understand the situation of the culture, and then we have to figure out something that can be helpful, like how we can promote it, how can we can make aware of the certain schemes of the government, also pressurize the government for enhancing the financial and other supports. And at the same point, Ali Shabbir, who has been coincidentally alumnus of my same university, I came to know that. So that's so what I want to like share, that yeah, YouTube and other social media is obviously a great platform, but beside that, as an academician, we should also, as we know certain parameters, like we can frame out archives, and certain parameters, some certain metadata can be included in that, and then we can make a website. Also in YouTube, we can put those data that can be helpful to navigate through this map of culture. So that is my observation. Other than that, I think the all the participants have presented very beautifully, and the attendees also enjoyed it, and many of well-learned persons are listening to them. So that's there. With this, do you have anything to say, ma'am?
No, nothing much. I had few very specific questions, but I think we can email the same to all the presenters. I mean,
Yes,
not
yes.
to continue
As
this.
we are running out, I mean, ahead of time, so we'll just request Dr. Vijay Beni to provide the vote of thanks for this session, and then we will conclude the session.
Thank you, Mir Garu. Good evening to all respected chair and scholars. On behalf of the Center for Folklore Studies and Research, I extended my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed speakers who have enlightened us with their profound insights into the diverse cultures and traditions that shape our world. Each speaker has provided invaluable perspectives, shedding light on disappearing cultures and traditions that are integral to our collective heritage. Firstly, I would like to express our appreciation to Shambhavi Ojha for her enlightening presentation on the fading folklore of Indian courtesans. Shambhavi meticulously traced the history and cultural significance of Indian courtesans, highlighting their vital role in proliferating folk culture through folklore. Her discussion on the ideological differences and similarities among various courtesans groups provided a deeper understanding of their contributions to art, economy, and cultural gratification. Furthermore, her insights into the challenges faced by the courtesans and suggestions for uplifting their social status are commendable. Next, our gratitude goes to Muhammad Ali Shabbir sir for his enlightening discourse on Tamlay, the disappearing ancient wisdom of Ladakh. Ali beautifully encapsulated the rich cultural heritage of Ladakh, focusing on the dwindling ancient wisdom encapsulated in the region's proverbs and sayings. His portrayal of Ladakh's unique demographics and the indigenous knowledge of survival harmonized with the nature was truly captivating. Ali's call to revive and preserve absolute resonated deeply, emphasizing the importance of safeguarding cultural legacies for future generations. We also extend our thanks to Rajib Baskey for his enlightened presentation on spirituality in Santali Indigenous Society, Nature, God, and Spirit. Provided fascinating insights into the spiritual characteristics of the Santal Indigenous Society, emphasizing their deep connection with nature and belief in living gods. His explanation of Santali mythology and ritual shed light on the multifaceted outlook and beliefs of the Santal tribal people. Rajib's presentation highlighted the importance of understanding and preserving indigenous spiritual practices for cultural continuity and appreciation. Lastly, our gratitude extends to Ankita Panda for her insightful discussion on Chakulia Panda, unveiling the cultural icon in Odia folklore. Ankita dwelled into the multifaceted significance of the Chakulia Panda within Odia folklore, portraying him as a cunning trickster, wise mediator, and guardian of a tradition. Her analysis of Chakulia Panda's portrayal in folk tales underscored his enduring legacy as a cherished icon in Odia culture, enriching the cultural fabric of Odisha. Ankita's exploration of a Chakulia Panda's role in imparting moral lessons and preserving cultural heritage emphasized the timeless appeal and the relevance of folklore in shaping collective identity. In conclusion, I would like to express our gratitude to all our speakers for their invaluable contributions to today's webinar. Your passion for preserving and celebrating diverse cultures and traditions serves as an inspiration to us all. We look forward to continuing our journey of cultural exploration and discovery together. And I'm heartfully extended my thanks to Chair Professor Debolina Guha, Assistant Professor, Department of English, who is also the member of executive committee of Center for Folklore Studies and Research. She deeply analyzes and discussed the presentations of the papers of this great session, which enlightened about the great knowledge and subject material of research oriented of folklore studies with their own cultures, customs, traditions, languages, and music through they can express by their people. Thank you so much for giving this great opportunity. This is Dr. Vijay Veni from Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. I am the faculty of dance and working as a subject expert in journalism and mass communication, Andhra University, Visakhapatnam. Thank you so much. for giving great opportunity.
We, on behalf of CFSR, we want to extend special thanks to Dr. Bijayavani. Like considering her age, like most of the people volunteer from PG, UG, but considering for her age, she volunteered for us, and this is a, I mean, this is, I was so happy to have her, and also extended his volunteership for this vote of thanks. We should clap for her also. We salute your spirit, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you
So
so
we
much,
now,
ma'am.
Thank you so much.
now we'll just hand over the session to Meghal and Bhumika for the next session. We're late by 1 minute. I apologize for that. Thank you.